Hi, I'm Rashonda. I'm the creator of this YouTube channel, as well as the artbyro.com website, where you can find over 250 art and drawing tutorials. So be sure to check that out. That's artbyro.com. But before you do that, let's watch this video, which today is going to be how to draw a cute little cartoon snail. This is super easy. It's great for beginners. So I hope you will join me and follow along and feel inspired to do some of your own artwork. So let's go on over to the art studio and get started on that drawing. Today I'll be drawing this cute little cartoon snail. These make great artist trading cards, which is what I'll be using today. If you're not familiar with artist trading cards, or also ATCs as they're called, you can check out the description box. There's a link in there to a freebie for the artist trading card guide for beginners. So go ahead and check that out. But I'm going to go ahead and get started on this snail by getting some basic shapes laid out. This helps us know where everything's going to be, how it's going to fit. Do we need to make it a little bit smaller? Do we want to make it bigger, reposition it? All those sorts of things. And also, it helps us to start getting some marks on the paper and not just staring at that blank page, something known as the blank page syndrome. And then you can clean up your drawing a little bit as you go if you need to. I usually save it for last, but sometimes when I'm making these videos, I'll clean them up just so you can get a better idea of where I'm going with it and what my thoughts are. So you can see what I'm trying to do here. So of course we got a circle for the head, a little kind of a teardrop shape for the body, and then we can also add the shell. I'm going to make the shell a little bit bigger. And I don't worry too much about things going off the edge of the paper. I like to fill the whole paper up. So it's something like if I decide the shell needs to be up here, then I'm going to go ahead and draw that, let it go off the edge of the paper. It's not going to bother me too much. There was a time years ago where if my drawings didn't fit on the paper, then I would feel like I messed it up, I have to start all over. And then typically what would happen, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well, that when you start over, oftentimes you end up just scrapping the whole thing and say, you know what, I don't feel like doing it over again. So I've learned over the years to go ahead and if things go off the edge of the paper, it's not the end of the world. I'm not selling this to somebody to hang on their wall. I'm just doing it for fun, just because I enjoy it. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding in some of the details. So I did the little antennae up here, and then I'll make those get bigger when they get towards his head. And then I want to do the eyes. So I'll do one eye here, and then I think this eye I might have extend past the side of his head a little bit. And also I want to make the eyes kind of big. That when you're doing cartoons, drawing nice big eyes will add to that cuteness of it. So we can go ahead and put the details into the eyes. So we're going to start doing little by little. We'll start adding in more of the details of the drawing. So this part here is not, we don't need that to be defined separately. So I'm going to go ahead and start making the head, connect it to the body. And I'm also not making my lines super straight. I don't want his head to look like a perfect circle. I want it to have some little bumps and ridges on it a little bit. Make him look more organic and fluid. Same thing with the body. I don't want to get too crazy with it, but I do want his body to look a little bit like it's moving, and you know, they're kind of slimy and wet looking. They don't have straight lines on them. So we want to draw it that way. And then he's just going to be crawling along the ground. So we can add a little indication of where the ground is. Nothing super detailed. Of course, you can get as detailed as you want. If you want to make your ground more detailed, that's fine. Whatever feels right for you. And then the shell is going to connect back behind the head or the body, wherever your point of connection is there. And then it comes around. Again, I'm going to let it come off the edge of the paper a little bit and not worry too much about it. And it also doesn't need to be a perfect circle. And then this part's going to be a little wider down at the bottom. And then we're going to draw this spiral for the shell. And then have it connect down here. And then all of this is going to be outlined and colored. So we'll clean it up a little bit as we get further into it. Now we can add in the final details for the shell and make these lines. And I like to curve them. That helps give it a bit of a contour to the drawing. And then up here we can do another one right up there if we want. It doesn't really matter too much on those details. And then that's pretty much it. We can add a little smiley face if we want to. Make them look all cute and happy. And then we can go ahead and start doing the outline. For this drawing, I'm going to just use my Sharpie pen. This is a medium point Sharpie pen. This is different than the thin white markers. The Sharpie markers, these ones don't have as much of an odor, and they tend to not bleed as much into the paper, which is why I like them. So I'm just going to trace over top of my pencil lines anything that I'm keeping. If it's something that is a little sketchy and you don't want to include it in your drawing, then of course you don't want to trace over that with the black. But I like to outline my drawings in black. You could do another color instead of doing black. You could do maybe a brown or a gray. It's up to you. You can experiment and try new things, which is why I love doing my drawings on artist trading cards, or one of the reasons. There's actually many reasons why I prefer artist trading cards. And one of the reasons is because they're smaller in size, so they're a little bit quicker to complete. So it gives you a little bit more freedom to experiment, try different things, and not feel like you're risking too much and, oh, I don't want to put a bunch of time into my drawing and then I mess something up and now it's ruined. With the artist trading cards, typically for the types of drawings I like to do, I can finish an artist trading card in probably 30 minutes or less, depending on what it is I'm drawing. And of course, you could do super detailed drawings if you wanted to. Some of the artist trading cards I've gotten from people when I trade them were someone who did, I've gotten some from a lady who does children books. She illustrates children's books, and her drawings are super detailed. She's an illustrator, it's what she does. So you can do super detailed, nice finished illustration type drawings on them. Or you can just do quick little sketches. You could do practice sketches. But it saves you a lot of time. And it's nice that you can get them done a little bit quicker and try new things and experiment. And for me, they work out really well. And then you can trade them, or you could just put them in a binder in a little miniature portfolio of your work that you can go back and look at for inspiration, or just to see how you have improved over time. And just to experiment, play around with different things, work on developing your style and just your ideas and what you want to do, working through your colors and what colors you like, and maybe using a new medium. So it's a great way to practice. It's a great way to save time. If you struggle with finishing your drawings, you tend to start drawings and not finish them, which a lot of people do. I used to have a huge problem with that. And since I switched to doing the artist trading cards, that's no longer an issue. So that's really nice. It helps build up confidence when you're getting your stuff finished and not having a bunch of half-done artwork laying around. So as you've seen, I used the big block eraser, cleaned up the drawing, got rid of all the pencil lines. And then what I like to do is clean up this outline a little bit after the pencil's removed. And then grab some markers. I'm going to be coloring this with markers. So I'm going to go ahead and get some markers pulled together, and then I will be right back with you. Okay, I got my markers all pulled aside. And I do this by using a little piece of scrap paper. And these are pieces that are left over from when I cut out my artist trading cards. And what I want to do is look for colors that are similar, that I think will blend together kind of smoothly. I don't want to have a real harsh edge where my colors are at. I want them to be a little bit of a smooth transition. So the way I like to do my colors is that I will start with the lightest color. So for blue, I'll lay down my light blue, and then I will take my darker blue and put some of that in there. And then I'll switch back to the lighter blue, and I'll go over where those two meet and blend that out so it's a little bit smoother. I'll do the same thing over here. So you do have to work while the marker's still wet to get them to blend good. So I just work in small sections at a time. And then I'll move on to the next. So I'll do yellow. And you can mix and match colors. So right now I'm using Bic markers. Over the years I've bought and tried different brands of markers. Just playing around, seeing what I like and don't like. But you can mix and match all the different markers together. So I'll do the same thing with this. I'll put my yellow down, and then I will use a color slightly darker and add some areas with some shading in it, some darker areas, and then smooth it out again. So the one thing with markers, if you're going to do some shading with them and you want to have those little bit smoother transitions of colors, is that you do have to have quite a few markers in order to do that. So it can be challenging sometimes, especially if you don't have a real big budget. for your art supplies. So it could be a little bit difficult trying to find the right colors. And also, just finding the right colors in general can be a bit of a challenge, because you're limited to what you can find, and sometimes you buy some markers and you think it's going to be a certain color and you get it and you put it on paper and it's not quite what you thought it was going to be. So oftentimes you might have to buy several different, for example, maybe a green marker, you might buy a few of them before you find the right color you're really looking for. So probably the best thing to do would be to buy a set of markers if you can afford it. And that'll at least give you a pretty good range to start with. And then from there, you can add some individual colors as you go, or try some different brands. That's how I got started. I think I started originally with some Prismacolor, and I seen some of these Bic markers were just at the local grocery store, so I bought a pack of those, tried those out. I would recommend that you stay away from those cheap sets that are at the craft stores. Those I've not had much luck with, and it's going to depend on kind of your style and how you're using them. But in the way that I work, the cheapo craft store ones just really, they don't work too good. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit, and I'll be back when I have everything colored in. All right, so I finished with the color. I also added some blue around the edge. I like to do that with a lot of my drawings. I like the little bit of contrast with that bright blue. I love that blue color. And then the last thing I usually do is to add some white using this jelly roll pen. And mostly what I want to do is just kind of break up the big chunks of color a little bit. And this is optional, of course. You can add some little white highlights or not. It's up to you. If you think it looks fine as is, then you would want to, of course, leave that. But I do like adding a little bit of white. And it's mostly just random, just wherever I think there's a little bit too much color all in one area. And then that's pretty much it. That's the little cartoon snail. I hope you liked this video, and hopefully you feel inspired to do some of your own artwork. and I will see you in the next one. Happy creating! Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you followed along and did one of your own little cute cartoon snail drawings. If you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button and also subscribe if you want to get notified of all future videos. And also, before you leave, check out that description box. There's a freebie in there for you on how to make your own artist trading cards. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!